She doesn't fall for the man who tries the hardest. She falls for the man who knows how to turn on her pleasure in silence. Folks, let's be honest. You've spent years thinking her pleasure starts when you finally touch her. You work on technique. You try to last longer. You memorize lines. You hope sound confident. But then it happens again. She likes you. She says you're a good man, yet something is missing. She is comfortable, but not truly lit up by you. She doesn't think about you at night. She doesn't crave you when you're gone. Deep down that eats at you. Here's what most men never learn. Her pleasure does not begin with your hands. It begins with how you occupy her mind. The way you look at her, the way you create tension, the way you make her feel both safe and excited. There are invisible pleasure switches inside her psychology that shape how much she wants you long before anything physical happens. In this video, my friend, I'm going to walk you through 3 switches women cannot resist when a man uses them correctly. We're talking about focused attention, anticipation, and a kind of masculine safety that lets her surrender into desire. Once you understand these, you stop trying to impress her body and start speaking to her nervous system. Let's get into it. Number 1. The hidden spark that ignites her pleasure. Folks, let's talk plainly, because this is where most grown men miss the mark. A woman's pleasure doesn't begin when you finally touch her. It begins much earlier in a place you can't physically see, but she feels instantly. It begins in her mind. And the hidden spark that ignites that pleasure is not technique, not experience, not the smooth lines you picked up online. It's the unmistakable feeling she gets when you're fully present with her. Not halfway, not distracted, fully there. Let me show you what this means in the real world. There's a man named Daniel, 56, living a comfortable life in Minnesota. Smart, stable, successful. He starts seeing a woman named Claire, 52, confident, attractive, playful in that grounded, mature way. On paper, he's everything she usually goes for. But something familiar starts happening. They get along, they laugh, they enjoy each other, but the spark he wants, the spark that makes a woman crave you, never fully appears. She likes him, but she doesn't feel that deeper pull. One evening at dinner, Daniel is doing what most men unknowingly do. He listens, but he's thinking ahead. He smiles, but he's slightly tense. He talks, but his mind is busy calculating what might impress her. Claire can't articulate it, but she feels the disconnect. Women always do, not logically but intuitively. She senses the gap between his words and his presence, and that gap is exactly where desire dies. Now, let's shift the moment. A week later, something in Daniel clicks. Not a trick, not a strategy, a choice. He decides to slow down and actually be with her. No mental rehearsing, no self-monitoring, no waiting for the right moment. He puts his phone away. He lets silence breathe. He notices the tiny things, the way she tilts her head when she's curious, the softness in her laugh, the subtle tension in her shoulders when a topic matters to her. That night, Claire leans in closer, without even realizing it. Her eyes linger on him. Her breathing shifts. Her voice warms. That small shift is the hidden spark. Because here's the truth. A woman's nervous system lights up when she feels genuinely perceived. Not watched, not analyzed, perceived. When your attention becomes intentional, not frantic, not thirsty, not scattered, her body responds long before her mind puts meaning to it. Studies on emotional bonding show that deep presence activates the same reward circuits in the brain that anticipation and romantic desire come from. That's why presence is not a soft skill. It is a masculine force. When you slow your breathing, when you listen without rushing, when your eyes stay with her, instead of darting around the room, she feels something she rarely experiences, a man who is grounded enough to actually witness her. And that feeling alone ignites the earliest layer of pleasure, pleasure born from being seen, not touched. Women don't crave men who try the hardest. They crave men who make them feel something without forcing anything. That begins with presence. That begins with this spark. If this hits home, write this in the comments to mark it for yourself. I see her truly. Stay with me because next we're going into the mystery that turns her on before you ever lay a hand on her. Number 2. The attention that makes her feel deeply desired. Folks, let's get real for a moment. Most men think giving a woman attention means talking more, praising more, or staying endlessly available. But the kind of attention that makes a woman feel deeply desired has nothing to do with volume. It has everything to do with quality. A woman doesn't melt because you're present. She melts because your presence feels different from every other man she has known. And that difference is what turns her mind on, long before desire shows up in her body. Let's talk plainly, my friend. A woman notices where your attention goes before she notices anything else about you. Your attention tells her whether you're grounded or insecure, whether you're centered or scattered, whether you're a man with depth or a man playing for approval. She feels these things instantly, even if she never verbalizes them. And most men, good men, well-meaning men, end up giving the wrong kind of attention without realizing it. The wrong kind of attention is frantic. It reaches, it seeks, it tries to fill silence and impress. It's the attention of a man who is afraid of losing her, a man who monitors her reactions, a man who talks because he fears stillness. That attention does not create desire. It kills it. It sends a message a woman cannot ignore. He needs me to feel like himself. That is not attraction. That is pressure. Now here's the part that matters. The right kind of attention is calm, intentional, and steady. It doesn't rush. It doesn't chase. It doesn't try to be perfect. It simply observes and receives the moment as it is. That alone changes the way she experiences you. When your attention is anchored instead of anxious, she feels desired without you having to say a word. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In the realm of attraction, the same principle applies. The power of your attention depends on the quality of your presence. When your thoughts are scattered, your attention is scattered. When your thoughts are settled, your attention hits her in a place she cannot ignore. Let me break down what this looks like. When she speaks, you don't interrupt to impress her with your intelligence. You let her finish because you are not rushing to perform. When she laughs, you hold her gaze for just a breath longer, letting the moment land instead of skipping ahead. When she gets emotional, you don't panic or try to fix everything. You let her feel what she feels, without losing your own center. This is masculine attentiveness, not emotional servitude. Women feel deeply desired, not when a man gives them non-stop focus, but when his attention becomes meaningful. That meaning comes from contrast. You are a man with a full life, with purpose, with direction. When you choose to focus on her fully without distraction, that focus becomes rare. And rarity makes it powerful. This is why the strongest men do not overtalk. They don't overshare. They don't force connection. They give attention that is deliberate. They give attention that signals, "I'm here because I choose to be, not because I need something from you." A woman can feel that difference immediately. It creates safety, tension, and desire all at once. That kind of attention tells her she is not just seen, she is perceived. And when a woman feels perceived, not just observed, something inside her unlocks a willingness to open, to relax, to desire you without hesitation. If this resonates with you, drop this in the comments to claim it. I choose my focus. Stay with me because next, we're going into the mystery that turns her on long before anything physical ever happens. Number 3. The mystery that turns her on before you touch her. Folks, let's be honest. Women don't get turned on because you reveal everything about yourself. They get turned on because you don't. Mystery is not about playing games or acting distant. It's about letting her feel that there's more to you than what she can see in the moment. And that feeling alone can activate desire before you ever lay a hand on her. Let me show you what this looks like through a real situation. There's a man named Mark, 58, living in Texas. Strong presence, good humor, decent dating experience. Meets a woman named Julia, 53, elegant, warm, and used to men trying way too hard. On their first few dates, Mark makes a common mistake. He tries to prove he's a good guy. He shares his whole life story. He replies instantly. He over-explains what he feels. Nothing he says is wrong, but it's too much. Too fast, too soon. Julia likes him, but the tension isn't there. It feels flat. One evening, Mark decides to try something different, not a tactic, but a mindset shift. He stops oversharing. He stops filling every pause. He answers questions without giving his whole autobiography. When Julia asks about a challenge he mentioned earlier, he smiles and simply says, "I'll tell you that one, another time." Not as a tease, but as a man who knows his pace. And for the first time she feels a spark. Not because he's hiding anything, but because he's leaving space. Space for her curiosity. Space for anticipation. Space for imagination. That, my friend, is mystery. Women are far more responsive to anticipation than they are to information. The male brain gets excited when something happens. The female brain gets excited when something might happen. That difference is everything. Mystery is the engine behind anticipation. It's the space where her mind begins building desire on its own. When you leave a little unsaid, a little unexplained, a little unshown, you give her room to lean forward. This is where most men fail. They rush to prove they're honest, open, trustworthy, interesting. But when you give everything too quickly, there's nothing left for her to uncover. No arc, no contrast, no layers. Mystery isn't about hiding. It's about pacing. It's about letting her discover you slowly, piece by piece, in a rhythm her desire can follow. And let me tell you something from experience. A woman's imagination is far more erotic than anything you say out loud. When she wonders about you, where your confidence comes from, what your life looks like when you're not with her, what you're thinking in moments of silence, that wondering becomes pleasure. Not physical pleasure yet, but psychological pleasure. The kind that builds heat under the surface. Mark eventually realized this. He stopped announcing his intentions. He stopped treating every date like an interview. He started giving 70% instead of 100, just enough to stay open, but not enough for her to feel like she had everything figured out. And as soon as he did that, Julia's energy shifted. She leaned in. She initiated more. She wanted more time, more connection, more of him. Women chase what they cannot fully define. If this hits home, write this in the comments: I master anticipation. Stay tuned, because next, we're breaking down the emotional rhythm her body responds to without even realizing it. Number 4. The anticipation loop that keeps her craving you. Folks, let's be real. If there's one force most men underestimate, it's anticipation. Men chase outcomes. Women respond to build-up. Men focus on what's happening right now. Women feel everything that might happen next. And when you understand how to create that psychological pull forward, you unlock one of the deepest pleasure switches inside her mind. Here's the truth, my friend. Anticipation creates more desire in a woman than the actual moment itself. Neuroscience has shown this for decades. Dopamine doesn't spike when the reward arrives. It spikes when the brain senses the reward approaching. That's why a woman feels more desire during the tension, the pause, the small, unanswered question than she feels during the outcome you're trying to rush toward. Her attraction grows in motion, not completion. But most men destroy anticipation without even knowing it. They text back immediately. They reveal everything up front. They explain their intentions in full paragraphs. They try to remove uncertainty to seem trustworthy. Their hearts are in the right place, but the result is the same. No mystery, no tension, no space for her imagination to participate. And without imagination, her desire stays flat. Anticipation requires space. It needs breath. It needs rhythm. This is where Stoicism becomes your anchor. Epictetus wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly. That includes attraction." When you slow your pacing not because you're playing games, but because you're grounded, you create a natural unfolding. You stop rushing to prove yourself. You stop handing out every detail. You stop collapsing moments before they have time to expand. And that restraint builds a loop inside her mind. So, what exactly is this anticipation loop? It's the psychological cycle where you give just enough to spark her interest, then step back, just enough to let that interest grow on its own. A small detail about your life that hints at a deeper story. A moment of silence that lets her notice your presence. A subtle smile that doesn't explain itself. These moments create micro-tension little hooks that her mind keeps coming back to. She begins replaying conversations. She wonders what you're thinking. She imagines possibilities you haven't even mentioned. And that imagination becomes desire. Men often think they need intensity to attract a woman. But the real engine of her craving is contrast. Presence and distance. Openness and restraint. Certainty and curiosity. When these elements appear in a balanced rhythm, a woman feels drawn toward you without understanding why. Her mind stays active. Her desire stays warm. Her attention stays pointed at you. And here's something you must understand. Anticipation isn't manipulation. It's pacing. It's emotional leadership. It's the ability to let the moment breathe without rushing to fill it. When you stop forcing outcomes and start letting connection unfold, she feels both safe and excited, two sensations that rarely coexist in her world. When they do, her craving for you intensifies. This loop is the difference between the man she forgets and the man she can't stop thinking about. If you want deeper training on how to build this kind of psychological pull using masculine pacing, emotional regulation and stoic presence, consider joining the membership. Inside, we break these dynamics down with a level of clarity and structure you won't find in free content. Now, let's move forward, because next, we're unlocking the emotional rhythm her body responds to, even when she tries to hide it. Number 5. The emotional rhythm her body responds to. Folks, let's talk about something men rarely pay attention to, yet women respond to instantly. Every woman has an emotional rhythm, an internal cadence that her body reacts to long before she understands it. And when you learn how to move in a way that aligns with that rhythm, you become the man whose presence she feels, not just notices. Pleasure, connection, attraction, all of it flows more naturally when your energy meets her emotional tempo. Let me paint this with a real situation. There's a man named Edward, 57, from Colorado. Solid guy, calm demeanor, successful career, divorced a few years. He starts seeing a woman named Melissa, 51, warm but sharp, the kind of woman who's had enough life experience to read a man's energy before he says a word. On their early dates, Edward does something most men don't realize they do. He rushes emotionally. When she shares something personal, he immediately tries to match it. When she flirts, he gets overly enthusiastic. When she pauses, he fills the silence too quickly. None of it is wrong, but the pacing is off. His rhythm doesn't match hers, and she feels a subtle disconnect. One evening over drinks, Melissa slows down. She leans back, takes a breath, speaks softly. Her rhythm becomes warm, deliberate, feminine, and Edward, instead of matching her pace, keeps his usual tempo, eager, forward, slightly tense. Without meaning to, he disrupts the emotional flow. She doesn't lose interest, but her body doesn't relax into attraction either. That is how sensitive this rhythm is. Women don't react to your actions. They react to the timing, tone, and emotional weight behind your actions. A week later, Edward shifts. He walks into their next meeting with a calmer energy. He speaks slower. He breathes deeper. He listens without jumping ahead. When she pauses, he holds the moment. When she laughs, he lets himself enjoy the sound instead of trying to push the moment forward. And suddenly, Melissa's body responds. Her shoulders drop. Her voice softens. She leans in instead of leaning back. Nothing dramatic happened. What changed was his rhythm. He learned to follow her emotional tempo without losing his center. Women respond physically to emotional alignment. That's why you can say the right words and still feel her drift away, or say almost nothing and feel her pull closer. Data from relationship psychology supports this. Synchrony in breathing, pacing, tone, and emotional expression increases attraction more than appearance or verbal compatibility. Her body knows when your rhythm matches hers before her mind ever analyzes it. But here's the part most men forget: you don't achieve this by mirroring her. You don't copy her tone or imitate her pace. You lead by grounding your own energy so she can fall into sync with you. A man who is anchored becomes the rhythm she responds to. He sets a tone that calms her nervous system while still keeping things alive and dynamic. Women feel desire when they sense steadiness on the inside and vitality on the outside. Edward learned this the night he finally relaxed into himself. His calm confidence created emotional safety, and his subtle playfulness created motion. That combination allowed Melissa to let go, trust the moment, and feel desire rise without forcing anything. If this resonates with you, write this in the comments: I lead with rhythm. Stay with me, because next we're diving into the stability that lets her surrender into deeper desire. Number 6. The stability that lets her surrender into desire. Folks, let's speak honestly, because this is the part most men misunderstand. Women don't surrender into desire because a man is exciting. They surrender because a man is stable. Excitement pulls her in for a moment. Stability keeps her there long enough for real desire to rise. And when I say stability, I'm not talking about money routines or having your life perfectly organized. I'm talking about emotional steadiness. The grounded masculine presence that tells her without words, you are safe to let go here. Here's what most men get wrong. They think stability means being predictable, agreeable, or endlessly supportive. But that is not emotional stability. That is emotional compliance. True stability is something different. It is the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't get rattled by tension, doesn't panic in silence, and doesn't crumble when a woman's emotions shift. It's the sense that you are anchored inside yourself, and nothing she does can pull you off center. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology gave it language. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anything external troubles you, the cause is not the thing itself, but your judgment of it." A woman feels safe with a man who lives that truth. When her mood shifts, when she becomes uncertain, when she tests emotional waters, he doesn't react impulsively. He doesn't escalate. He doesn't mirror her storm. He stays grounded, and that groundedness becomes the container for her desire. Why does stability matter so much? Because a woman cannot relax into her feminine energy, and feminine desire is rooted in relaxation when she feels she has to manage a man's emotions. If she senses that you're easily triggered, easily offended, overly reactive, or seeking reassurance from her, her desire shuts down. Not because she's judging you, but because her body won't let her move into vulnerability when she's busy holding the emotional weight. Stability is what allows her to stop holding. Think about the rhythm of human connection. When a woman gets emotional, she's not always looking for solutions. She's looking for a man who can hold steady while she expresses. The moment you stay present, calm voice, slow breath, grounded posture, something inside her softens. Her nervous system relaxes. Her guard drops. That drop is the doorway into deeper desire. And here's the part most men miss. Stability doesn't mean being lifeless. It doesn't mean suppressing emotion or becoming a blank slate. A stable man still laughs, still flirts, still brings fire. But his fire has structure. His energy is alive without being chaotic. A woman feels drawn to that combination because it gives her two sensations she rarely experiences at the same time: excitement and safety. Stability also creates trust in your intentions. When you say you'll do something, you do it. When you express interest, it's consistent. When you're present, you're genuinely there, not half in your head. This consistency builds emotional credibility, and emotional credibility is what makes her body let go. It's what allows her to surrender into desire without fear of collapse or disappointment. Seneca said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery is exactly what she is responding to. Not dominance over her, mastery over you. A man who governs his own emotional world becomes a man she naturally relaxes into. And when she relaxes, desire emerges, not forced, not performed, but awakened. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments: I hold the frame. Next, we're moving into the next switch that shapes how she experiences your presence at a deeper level. Number 7. The masculine presence that excites her safely. Folks, let's talk about something most men don't even realize women are evaluating every time they're around you. It's not just your looks, not your charm, not even your confidence in the traditional sense. What truly pulls a woman in and keeps her wanting more is your masculine presence. Not the loud kind, not the aggressive kind, the grounded, steady, quietly intense presence that makes her feel two things at the same time: excited and safe. That combination is rare, and women respond to it more strongly than they'll ever admit. Let me bring this into real life for you. There's a man named Jonathan, 56, from Georgia. Good sense of humor, financially stable, respectful. Everything on paper looks right. He begins dating a woman named Erin, 52, confident, attractive, and used to dealing with men who either overwhelm her with intensity or bore her with passivity. On their first couple of dates, Jonathan leans heavily toward being nice. He's polite, agreeable, gentle. Erin appreciates it, but she doesn't feel anything stirring beneath the surface. No excitement, no tension, no emotional gravity. Then something shifts. One evening, instead of trying to impress her, Jonathan shows up steady and relaxed. He isn't performing. He isn't rushing. He isn't trying to decode her reactions. He's simply grounded in himself. Present, calm, tuned in. His posture is open, his voice is slow and warm, and he listens with a kind of quiet focus that has weight to it. Erin feels it immediately. Her breath softens, her shoulders drop, her eyes linger on him longer. Why? Because his presence changed the way her nervous system responded. A woman's attraction amplifies when your energy communicates strength without tension. Masculine presence doesn't mean acting dominant or pretending to be in control. It means you're not controlled by your surroundings. You're not thrown off by her moods, her pauses, or her questions. You're not operating from insecurity. You're operating from grounded awareness. She feels that difference instantly. Modern psychology confirms this. Women feel desire more intensely around men whose emotional signals communicate both stability and vitality. Too much stability without spark feels fatherly. Too much spark without stability feels risky. The sweet spot, the place where her desire grows, is masculine presence that is calm but alive. This is where Stoicism quietly strengthens you. The Stoics taught that a man's first responsibility is mastery of himself. When you show emotional self-control, not suppression but regulation, you project a steadiness that invites her into feminine softness. She doesn't have to manage your reactions. She doesn't have to worry about triggering you. She can just be, and in that space desire grows effortlessly. Think back to Jonathan. When he stopped over-talking and stopped chasing the perfect impression, his energy slowed down. His attention deepened. His movements became intentional. Erin felt drawn to him not because he changed his personality, but because he stopped leaking anxiety. His presence became a container, something her body trusted, something her femininity could relax into. And here's what most men overlook: presence is physical, emotional, and behavioral. It shows up in your eye contact, your breathing, your stillness, your tone, and your willingness to let silence do the work for you. When your presence is grounded, she feels safe enough to get excited. When your presence is alive, she feels excited enough to want more. That balance, safety and thrill, is what she remembers long after she leaves. It's what makes her replay moments in her head at night. It's what makes her feel desire long before anything physical happens. If this speaks to you, drop this in the comments to claim it. I anchor the room. Stay with me, because next, we're breaking down the subtle signals that awaken her feminine energy without you saying a word. Number 8. The tension that makes her imagine you at night. Folks, let's be real. Every woman has a moment, usually late at night, usually when the world finally goes quiet, when her mind drifts toward the man who left the strongest emotional tension in her body. Not the man who talked the most, not the man who tried the hardest, but the man whose presence created a lingering question she couldn't quite answer. That question becomes tension, and that tension becomes desire. Let me show you something through a real situation. There's a man named Robert, 58, from Michigan. Divorce, stable career, good humor, the kind of guy people trust instantly. He starts seeing a woman named Laura, 51, feminine, thoughtful, and deeply intuitive. On their early dates, Robert did what many men do. He stayed predictable. He made fast replies, gave clear answers, and tried to make everything smooth and comfortable. Nothing was wrong, but nothing pulled her in either. No spark, no tension, no edge. One evening, though, something changed. They met for coffee, and instead of filling every pause, Robert relaxed. He let silence settle naturally. He spoke when he had something to say, not because he feared losing momentum. At one point, Laura shared something vulnerable, and he simply looked at her steady, warm presence without rushing to rescue her from the emotion. That pause, that unforced moment, created a shift she felt in her body. A subtle pull, a curiosity, a spark of tension she couldn't name. That night she found herself thinking about that look, that pause, that moment. Not because it was dramatic, but because it carried emotional weight. Her mind replayed it, her body responded to it. That is the power of tension done right. Tension is not pressure. It's not manipulation. It's the emotional space where possibilities live. Women respond to that